Well, well, well. This is a... This is a first for the channel, indeed. I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. If someone can hear me, actually, I'll wait till someone comes in the chat room just to make sure things are working as I hope they are. But normally each week before I start streaming, about a half an hour before I start streaming, I reboot my computer just to make sure if I've got any pending patches or anything like that. Hey, Drezu, can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? We are doing something completely off the cuff tonight. This is completely spontaneous, and that is because my computer is attempting to upgrade to the new version of Windows, apparently, and it started about I don't really have a way to hook a microphone up to my phone, so that's what we're doing here. We're streaming through the phone. So if you think this will work, then I will continue with the plan. And if you don't think it'll work, then I'll just call it. Okay, good. So what happened was about 15 or 20 minutes maybe before I was set to start streaming, I went to reboot my computer, and this happened, and that is still happening. So my computer has been patching and rebooting for over 20 minutes now, with no sign of any progress. So what I have done is, and again, this is, boy, it's such a unflattering angle. I wish I had something higher. I guess it doesn't really matter. But, wait. Let's put this maybe could raise things up and make where I'm not quite looking down quite so much. Yeah, that's a little better. What I did was just a few minutes ago, like right before I hit the stream button, is yes, by the way, we're looking at a different view. So normally my main computer is over here, and normally we are looking that way. Now what is in front of me here is my Mister, and so my other little setup here, but the lunch boxes are back there with the new LED lighting strips that I put in there. What a pain in the butt that was, by the way. I bought a 50-foot strip of LED lighting because those shelves are 15 foot wide. So I don't know if you can see the entire, it goes all the way down there and all the way over there. So I figured 15 foot and then drop, and then 15 foot drop, 15 foot. So that would be about 50 foot, and then plus the little bit right there, which I really want to cover up. That part really bugs me, that part that hangs down. But it's not bad. I mean, it kind of gives the effect I wanted. And, of course, it's like everything else. You can change the colors and whatnot. So anyway... so right before my streaming machine hung up, what I did was I went and grabbed every book, not every book, but I grabbed one shelf's worth of books from my collection of video game and computer and hacking related bookshelf. So because I can't stream a game right now, I figured what we would do is, you know what I could do is I could change, where's my, I was looking for my phone. I was going to say I could change the, here, wait, let me try this. Is that, I might have a slightly more, there. instead of being all blue because my lights are blue and the controls are on my phone, which I'm streaming from right now. So, oh yeah, we could do a choose your own adventure. So anyway, I thought what I would do is dig out. I just grabbed a shelf's worth of books from my bookshelf. This is the shelf that's mostly computer related type books, and so I thought we would thumb through them and see what's going on here. I don't think any of these well, there is one book in here that's signed. Now Steel Rat, when I graduated college, bought me a signed book, which is not in the stack because that is it's in, not only is it with the fiction books, but it's in a very, very special spot. It has its own little shelf up here. Let's put the Kool-Aid there. All right. These are in no particular order. So we're just going to grab a book. We're going to look at a book and see what we have here. This is the top book off the shelf. This is Exploding the Phone. Exploding the Phone. This says the untold story of the teenagers and outlaws who hacked Ma Bell, written by Phil Lapsley, forward by Steve Wozniak. This is a fantastic book. I don't remember how old this is. This book is 2 or 3, no, more than that, maybe 5 years old, something like that. It's not very old. I bought this book and then also got a ebook. Most of these I have, not most, but a lot of them I have ebook copies of as well. So I tend to read the ebook copies and just leave these sitting on a shelf. But this is a book about basically the history of freaking. So the boxing that took place, all the stuff of basically hacking phone systems from the very beginning, which was essentially blue boxing and that whole story, to modern day stuff and when it died. There was I know a little bit about the story. Basically there were a lot of attempts at trying to figure out how the phone system worked, but boy, I hate to even tell these stories because I'll get minor details wrong, and they're told so much better in this book. But essentially, the thing that opened the floodgates, was the discovery of the 2600 hertz signal, which is a signal that normal phones cannot make, but an operator's phone can make. And so if you could make a 2600 back in the day, if you could make a 2600 hertz code, that would send you into another menu that would allow you to be able to take control over the phone system. And so, that's right, Curtis. So the John Draper, who was a guy who went by Captain Crunch later, John Draper found this whistle in a box of Captain Crunch cereal that just so happened to also blow at 2600 hertz. So if you had one of these whistles, you could blow it and it would basically turn your phone into an operator's phone. And so that was the beginnings of everything. That was the beginnings of figuring out how to take over the phone system and do things that operators could do that regular people couldn't do. And so the boxes that made that tone, the first ones that were found the boxes were blue, and so that became known as a blue box. And of course, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs famously made blue boxes and sold them. So some of the money that came from selling blue boxes went towards founding Apple computers. So anyway, all that is in this book and lots and lots more. There's lots of interviews with different people. There's lots of technical information, and more importantly, the stories behind the people that did all that. Now, one of the things that people did was red boxing, and red boxing is something that I did more than I would like to admit, but red boxing was basically making free phone calls from pay phones. There was a lot of different ways to do it. One of the ways was to use a modified Radio Shack tone dialer. And I have, hold on. A new, in the box, Radio Shack tone dialer. We'll talk about this some other day. Which is not actually the actual device that I used to use. I used to use a modified device that would just play back wave files of the thing. But, oh yeah, absolutely, Curtis. That would be great. So, anyway... so that is Exploding the Phone. Again, if you just joined in a little bit late, my computer is stuck doing a Windows 10 upgrade. I can't stream from my computer, so I've got my phone set up, and what we're doing is going through some... I grabbed a shelf's worth of books, of computer-related books, right off the shelf. Now, here is one. So that's what we're doing, is we're doing a little bit of show and tell tonight. Now, actually, there are... a couple here that are related. So I will try to get those. In fact, this is what we're going to do. There's going to be 3 books right here in a row that are all related. Boop. Boop. So, years ago, my wife was in charge of setting up a training program at work. And she had carte blanche. She said, I could hire anybody we want. I could do any kind of training we want. It has to be computer or security related. And so she talked to me. And so what she ended up doing was hiring Kevin Mitnick to come to our work and talk about computer security for basically a 3-day stretch. Now, right off the bat, since I work on a government facility, management was a little skittish about getting Kevin Mitnick on campus. And so he had to have an on-site escort at all times, which was me. So, for the minute he showed up for those 3 days and those evenings after work, I was basically hanging out with Kevin Mitnick the whole time. So, while he was there, he brought copies of his first 2 books that he had at the time. This was the first one. This was called The Art of Intrusion. And... I mean, I gotta think these are both signed. Yes. So that one is signed. And what is the date on this? 12/16/06. Golly, has it been that long? So he had this book, which is a paperback that he was giving away copies of, The Art of Intrusion. And then he had a brand new book at that time about social engineering called The Art of Deception. And this is a hardback one. And I'm sure this one is signed as well. I wouldn't have let him out of my sight without being signed, I'm sure. Yeah, it is as well. So anyway, I spent 3 days hanging out with Kevin Mitnick. This was right after he had got out of jail, and he was just starting his career as a basically a presenter, if you will. And this was the basically this was the first big gig that he had. So, in a way, I don't want to take, and it has nothing to do with me personally, but my wife was really the one that gave him this first legitimate gig, and then he used that to bounce off to do other gigs. And so he actually mentions that gig in his next book, and this was more, so those were both stories about, it's stories, but it's like the art of deception. It's like about social engineering. It has a little bit about his story, but not him specifically. But all his stuff, all his stories, like his biography or memoirs, are in this book. This is Kevin Mitnick's Ghost in the Wire. So this is basically his story from beginning to end. This one is not autographed because I bought this one. Wait a minute, I'm lying. This one is autographed too. But this one, is this dated at the same time? No, this is 2013. That has to be 2013 as well. I think I was looking at that date wrong. 6/24/2013, because it was definitely summer. So this is that right? But what I'm confused about here is I believe towards the end of this book, this had to come later, because towards the end of this book, he talks about his supervised release and about how he gets started in public speaking and all this. And it says that he got this deal with the Federal Aviation Administration. So him coming and talking to us, that my wife hired him to, is mentioned in this book. So this is really cool book. It has all his stories. She did know who he was because she knew who he was from me. Let's see. Oh, Drazu says he sees the Mothman candle. Yes, it's right here. Right here on the edge, the Mothman candle that Aaron got us for the Mothman tour. I'm pretty sure that Pencil is one of those as well. So anyway, that's the trio of Kevin Mitnick books. I also have Kevin Mitnick gave us his business card, which is a metal business card which has perforated and pop-out lock picks, which are not very good lock picks, but they are lock picks that will fit in your wallet as a business card, so that makes them somewhat worthwhile. All right. Okay, so this is an interesting, well, actually, I'm going to jump, okay, because here's a more interesting book, and this is a funny story. This book is called Cyberpunk, and so this book, it says Outlaws and Hackers on the Computer Frontier, and it was written by Katie Hayner and John Markoff. Now, John Markoff is a very interesting person, because John Markoff was a newspaper reporter, and John Markoff is the guy who wrote all the newspaper articles that drew attention to Kevin Mitnick. So John Markoff is the guy who teamed up with, what was his name? The Cyber Samurai guy, Tetsuyama, whatever his name was. I think that, I don't know, that's not right, but something like that. Basically the guys that tracked down and caught Mitnick, worked with the FBI or whatever. But the thing is that Mitnick, according to Mitnick, it's like 90%, like John Markoff is the guy who came up with the thing that said, like he perpetuated a lot of the things that weren't true, like that Kevin Mitnick could whistle into a phone and launch missiles, which is such a bunk thing to say. But John Markoff was the newspaper reporter. So when Kevin Mitnick came, I went to him the first day, and I was like, "Listen, I'm into a lot of these old stories and stuff like that, right?" And anyway, I said, "Hey, I was wondering, I have this book, and I was wondering if you'd sign it." And he says, "Sure." And so I pulled this book out, and he just goes, stared at me, and I go, by the way, I'm kidding. I said, I know your whole story, and I know John Markoff, and he was like, oh my God. So that got him to laughing, and that was kind of an icebreaker. So that was really funny, and he definitely would not sign this book, which he thought was really funny that I asked him to sign it. So, Kevin Mitnick, not a fan of this book. Kevin Mitnick almost got busted a lot of times. He was, if you read Ghost in the Wires, which if you're going to read any of those books, Ghost in the Wires is the one to read. He was really just a technical wizard when it came to the phones and the security in the systems and stuff. And he was really, really good at social engineering. But as far as the actual, I don't know, a lot of the stuff, like he was lucky. You know what I mean? So a lot of the stuff he was lucky. So, what do we got next here? Okay, this is an interesting book. This book, hardly anybody's ever heard of. It's called Extra Life. And it's a pretty old book. And this book is very important because it says on the front here, coming of age in cyberspace. And so what this book is, it says, the quote on the inside here says, a catcher in the rye for the Atari generation. And so a lot of this is about Atari and Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a lot of, each chapter is like kind of a different story or a different topic, right? But when I read this book, I don't know what this is on the front. I will hold it up there. Oh, there we go. So when I got this book and read it, I thought, you know what? I could do something like that. I said, but what this book I think is missing is an overall arc. Like like each chapter has good stuff, but overall, there's not like a continuing kind of story. And so basically, more or less, this was the foundation for Commodore. This was the book that I read that kind of gave me the idea about Commodore. So that's why this is important. Curtis, I'll have to look it up after the stream. But anyway, that's why this one remains on the shelf. Again, if you joined in late, my computer is in the process of upgrading Windows 10, and I'm unable to use it right now for streaming. So we hopped on the phone. I grabbed some books off my personal bookshelf, my shelf of computer books and stuff like that. And so that's what we're going through right now. This, we got to do this one. This is Cult of the Dead Cow by Joseph Min. This is how the original hacking supergroup might just save the world. So Joseph Min has written a couple of interesting books. He's a really good writer. He actually wrote a really good book about Napster from beginning to end, about how Napster got formed and how it started, how it ended. He was a great writer, and he basically got to interview all the guys in the Cult of the Dead Cow. My name does not appear in this book. I wish it did. There is a little bit of talk, though, about the CDC's Ninja Strike Force, of which I was made an honorary member. The actual Cult of the Dead Cow got to a point where they kind of froze memberships, and so I really wanted to be a member of the Cult of the Dead Cow, and they kind of froze that, but they created this subgroup called the Cult of the Dead Cow's Ninja Strike Force. And so because of my books and some of the programs I wrote and some of the other stuff, and just hanging out with some of these guys. They made me a member of that, and so which is always an interesting thing to when people at work ask you about that. But anyway, if you want to know the complete story of the Cult of the Dead Cow, yes, it does talk about where the name of it came from. The 3 founding members of Cult of the Dead Cow were all from Lubbock, and they used to go out to this place that was a old cow slaughtering place that had gone out of business. It was abandoned, and so they would go out there and hang out, and so that was where the name, the Cult of the Dead Cow, came from. And so most of the original guys from the CDC were all from Lubbock, including one of them whose name was Beto O'Rourke, who has gone on to a slightly different career in politics. So that was a news story that came out a couple of years ago. Next up, what do we have here? I have 2 books here that are similar in title, but are different books. This one, if you know the name, is... trying to look here for the exact name. The Commodore 64 book, 1982 to 1990X, by Andrew Fisher. This is a oddly shaped book. It is a paperback, and it's very visual. And so when you open it up, you have lots of information about games. There's Hero. That's a good one. So lots and lots of screenshots, lots and lots of information. It's kind of spread out by years. So like there's, looks like 1986, and it goes into, so if you're looking for, you could say all this stuff is available online, and that's probably true. But it's so nice to have something that you can just sit down, have next to you on a little table next to your reading chair or something to pick up, and just, you can either go through it chronologically, or you could just flip open to a page and read about, a random game. Here's Ikari Warriors right here. By the way, back in the BBS day, there was a guy who went, I don't know if he was, I think he legitimately was dyslexic, and his alias was Iriki Warrior. So he had misspelled Ikari Warrior, and his alias was the Ikari, or the Iriki Warrior. So, look, Beachhead 2. Medic! Oh! Oh, what a fun game. I'm just going to sit here and read this book, don't mind me. There's Iridium, there's the Great Guiana Sisters, lots of classic games covered in this. So I don't know if this is still in print or not. This is an older book in the collection, but that's it. If you're a Commodore 64 person and want to just flip through looking at games and stuff like that. So, don't borrow books from this guy. Speaking of Commodore, here's Commodore on the Edge. So there are several books that are similarly named. I think I have another one called Commodore on the Edge. But this is like the reference material if you're going to get into the story of Commodore, like the company, Commodore CBM. You want to know Jack Tramiel. You want to know, the stories about the VIC-20 and the price slashing and putting TI-99, putting TI out of business and all this stuff now. Yes. So this book, I think is this the one that's out of print now, and I think the price has shot up really high on this one. But If you could find it, or maybe find an ebook version of it or something like that. But yeah, there's so many stories about the development of Commodore computers and the business, the company itself. Lots of great stories in here. I know that the original Commodore building was in, I believe, Westchester. Is that right? Pennsylvania, and or right in that area. And I went to a. The thing is, Steve, I've got 2 copies of this, so I may have the other copy you're thinking of as well. Well, I went to a training class in just outside of Pittsburgh one time, and when I went there, the only thing that I knew that I wanted to see was Bam Margera's house, and that's when they were filming after Jackass, when Bam Margera had his own TV show and he had the castle in the backyard and stuff. And so I had done some Googling and I found Bam Margera's home address. And so I went there, and it was like 5 acres or 10 acres or something with a big fence around it. And there was a keypad at the door and you couldn't get in. But if you drove past quickly, you could see through the slats of the fence. I could see the half pipe back there. And so, anyway, I drove by there, but then also I went by the old Commodore building, which I believe, if I'm right, I think it became QVC headquarters, and then I think it's abandoned now, and I think now it may have been torn down since then. I'm not sure, but anyway, I have no personal connection to that building or to that area, but I just wanted to see it, something where the place where all these computers, tied back. It was just something to go see. So anyway, this one right here, again, it's the there are different editions of this book. This is a hardback release, but it may be a revision or something. And I think Drezu said the price of these has the ones that are out of print have definitely gone up in price. Okay, let's see what else was in here. We're going through the books because we're not able to stream. We're not able to stream from the computer. Here's another hacking book. This book is fantastic. This book is really, really good. This is The Masters of Deception. So there were 2 groups. The 2 main hacking groups were MOD and LOD, the Legion of Doom, and the Masters of Deception. And so if you've ever heard of like Eric Bloodaxe and Frack magazine, he came from MOD. The founder of Frack magazine was a member of MOD, Eric Bloodaxe, who's on my Facebook page now. What a weird time we live in. His real name is Chris Goggins. It's no big secret. Yeah, he's actually on my Facebook. But anyway, this is all about like the guy. If you've ever seen the movie Real Genius, which was one of Steel Rat and my. We watch that all the time. But there's the subplot with the guy who is living in the closet, and he's doing all the entries to enter the Frito-Lay sweepstakes Laszlo. That's based on a true story. And the guy who did that, he basically rigged a radio contest for dialing in, and his name is Fiber Optic. Fiber Optic is a member of this group as well. That story is in here. There are just tons and tons of good hacking stories. And then this rivalry where they, basically went after each other. So this is a fantastic book. If you like those old hacking kind of stories and the old school BBS, but like the guys that were on the ground level doing it, Masters of Deception, really, really good book. Yes, the Retroist just talked about Real Genius. It's funny, I'm on the Retroist Discord, and Retroist is just a super fun guy to talk to, and it's funny because we're so close in age that we just have so much in common. And what's really fun is, and not just me, but he'll mention a topic, and then this conversation will come out of it, and then that conversation will end up inspiring a show in a month or so. And so it's really kind of fun to watch those go from individual ideas into, seeing how they manifest into full episodes. So anyway, Masters of Deception, super fun, super good, highly recommended. All right, L. Curtis Boyle, I hope you're still out there, because this one's got your name written all over it. This book was called Priming the Pump: How TRS-80 Enthusiasts Help Spark the PC Revolution. And so here's what we've got here. This was a self-published book. I bought this for my dad, because my dad, as I've told many times, had the TRS-80 Model 3, and that was the first computer that we had. This book is good. It definitely has typos because it's a self-published style book, and I wish that there had been a little bit more editing, but I wouldn't let that take away from it. It's a good book, and it's like a lot of those types of books where it's a collection of people's stories and memories, and just being there on the ground level. The early TRS-80 guys were the first generation. Before that, more or less, before that, people say, like, oh, what's the first home computer, like the Altair and stuff like that. And I'm not taking away from those guys or taking away from that, but that wasn't like flipping switches and getting LEDs to light up and yeah, Mr. Smith, that's a funny story. Mr. Smith was our high school or middle school and high school computer teacher. And what was funny is in our mid-high, which would have been starting in 87, 88, they were teaching basic programming on TRS-80 either Model 3s or Model 4s. Which is, it just seemed like such a step back. Like I never took that class because I'd had a Commodore 64 for 2 years. So I was playing with Commodore games and stuff like that. And so to see that, I know Jeff took Mr. Smith's class. So I actually tutored a kid in basic programming. And then basically Mr. Smith told that kid to fire me because I wasn't in his class. So I had taught him how to do basic programming, but not the way that the book was teaching it. And so he asked him to find another tutor. But anyway, I agree with you. The hobbyist stuff was very interesting. Jeff and I went to a computer show one time. I've told this story on a podcast, but if any of you guys know Charles Pearson, he used to hang out on Digital Press, and he went online by Uber Alice. We had a computer show, and he brought 2 Altairs and set them up at a computer show, and people walked by and just like turned their nose up at it. People walked by and were like, what is that? And kept walking. And, Jeff and I were like, that's the coolest thing here. Like anybody, like there were people that had, Xboxes set up at a retro gaming show, and people were just playing, Xbox fighting games. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for Xbox fighting games, but I would trample over a pile of Xboxes to get to touch an original Altair and actually see it running and doing something, And so I just thought it was a real shame that people didn't spend more time to really look at his setup there. But yeah, so that was a different breed of dudes, right? Like, building a motherboard and wiring stuff and flipping and getting LEDs, like that was one level of stuff. But once you got to the home computer, and you could program in and print hello world, I mean, that was a game changer right there. And so this is really, I mean, the TRS-80 guys are really the ground level of that. So if you want to read about, I mean, as old as it gets for home computers, this is it right here. That's a good book. I don't know if there's old, yeah, like I'm not interested in that level of, no, I do not have an Altair. I've thought about buying one of those Altair replicas or whatever, but what am I going to do with it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that level of guy. I'm not a hardware guy, like as far as like the soldering and the repairing and stuff. Like I wish I was better at it, That's why Still Rat's here. It's because I go, I'm broken. What do I do? And then he goes, let me show you how to. And then he's got soldering irons. And he's like, let me show you how to fix that. And then it's all better. So, yeah, like those Altair kits seem interesting, but I go, what would I do? What would I do with it? You know what I mean? Yes, put the magic smoke back in. So not really for me. It would be an interesting weekend project, but it's not something that I would spend that much money on. So, now I did, as Curtis knows, because I've sent him a couple of messages, I just had someone gift me a TRS-80 Coco 1. And I've been backed up on projects this week, just certain family things and some building things that I just haven't been able to get out of. So I've got this Coco 1 sitting there with the wires connected and a TV sitting next to it. And it's really just a matter of getting the time to go out there and plug everything in or whatever. So, yes. And the funny thing is that to me, like for what, I don't know why, but the Apple II seems so much more advanced than the TRS-80. I mean, the original, like TRS-80 1, 2, 3. And I've still got my 2E set up right over here. So, all right, what do we got next in the thing? Oh, I don't really have a story about this, but but then I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about not having a story. There was there's a really popular website / wiki / whatever. If you've ever thought about making your own MAME machine at home, you've probably run across it, and it's called BYOAC, Build Your Own Arcade Cabinet. And those guys put out a book. It's called Build Your Own Arcade Machine, and the book was called Project Arcade. And so they said they were basically putting the entire thing into a book format. And so I never bought it because all the information was online and it was free. And so I just didn't see a purchase or a point in purchasing the book. And then one day I was at a thrift store and I saw the book for $1 or a quarter, whatever thrift store books. So this is basically, I think, like this book to me, this is like somebody's sad memory. They're like, oh, I'm going to build a machine, and then they go, wah, it was too hard, and they donated the book. And then I bought the book later, and it even has this CD, which is still sealed. So they gave up early. They gave up early in the process. They didn't get very far. Maybe they just didn't need the CD. But here's a standalone control panel. Here's the old iPack. Got to get you an iPack if you're going to wire all that up. Physical hacks, different types of motherboards. There's a little thing here about jukeboxes. Monitor mounting. So basically, if you wanted to build a main machine, you would go to BYOAC. In fact, I have a BYOAC hat that has a arcade button logo on the front, and it says BYOAC on the side, and then on the other side it says FLAC, and it got super dirty. It's like a tan color, and it got super dirty. And so I think I washed it or something, and now it's just all water stained and gross looking. So I never wear it. I never ever wear it. But it's still hanging with my hat collection because it's got my name on it. And I hate to throw it away, but yeah, you gotta have an iPack, and then of course. The iPacks that I have a couple from my old main machine, and they're the old kind that use the PS2 connectors instead of the newer USB ones. So, but anyway, if you were going to build an arcade cabinet, and this is nice to have if you're out there and you know want to look something up or reference or something. Oh, look, Memoir right here. I'm sure some of this is outdated, but not the general concepts, you know, of designing your own control panel right there. So this is a fun purchase. All right, we're halfway through the stack. Again, if you showed up late, my main machine that I streamed from was upgrading Windows 10 and got hung up and carried over into my streaming time. And so we are on the iPhone 11 here in the Room of Doom. And I decided to grab some of my computer and video game books and dig through and do a little show and tell. So that's what we're doing tonight. Not a normal stream, but a fun one. This book is water damaged, and I'll tell you why. This book was called Arcade Fever. So this book came out right around the time at the beginning of, like, right when retro stuff really, like retro arcade stuff really started getting popular. I'm going to try to look and see if I can see. I'm in kind of bad lighting here at the moment, but I'll try to hold it under this light over here. All rights reserved. I believe this says copyright 2001, which sounds about right. So just right about the time with, like I said, when that stuff, arcade stuff started coming back and started getting popular. So this is a collection of, you know, arcade game, different artwork for games, machine information, side art, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a, you know, a fast read, let's say. Oh, you know those guys. So I had, when I had my backyard arcade, I had this little bookshelf with all of my arcade and computer related stuff. And you have a copy of this one next to Commodore. Wow. They're in good company because they're man, it's funny. It's always funny when people tell me they have a copy of my book, because I never know what to say. I always go, oh, I'm sorry you spent money on that. I never know what to say. So I had this little bookshelf out in my arcade, and so what happened was I thought that my home arcade got vandalized. I went out there one time, and there was stuff all over the place that had just been torn up. There was styrofoam everywhere, and there was damage. And so eventually what I found out, was that of all things, a possum had got into my building and torn up the roof and basically gnawed a hole through the roof and come down in and just chewed everything up, and and it just made a huge mess of everything. So Drezu says he has a signed copy of my book with a hand-drawn. It's not a phone cable, it's a joystick. It's a little joystick with the cable on there. So anyway, the possum came in, and so what happened was I didn't realize it for a day or so, and then it rained, and it came in and it got a couple of my books wet, and so that's why this one has water damage on the outside. And I think I threw a couple of the books away, and I replaced a couple. And this is like then there were just a couple where I'm like, and I don't really want to throw it away, but it's not worth replacing. And so I just kept it like that. Buck Owens says the original On the Edge book hardcover is $122 to $281 on Amazon. All right, we're gonna put this up for sale. We're gonna auction it off tonight. Yeah, I mean, I don't sell anything, so there's no. Don't worry about that. All right, what do we got here? Oh, now this was a good one. I got this from Half Price Books, apparently, based on the price tag right here on the front. And this is called Retro Electro, Collecting Technology from Atari to Walkman. So it's not really limited to video games. In fact, right here on the back, if you know your sci-fi history, it's Robbie the Robot. So this is a really picture book. There's lots of fun things to look at. Again, this is kind of I would call this a bathroom reader, although in a bathroom, I think most of us just take our phones at this point. Here's record players and old radios, and if you listen to the recent You Don't Know Flack about photography, then they price them with stickers now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, lots of. Remember these? I think maybe Steel Rat had one of these. Where did it go? I just missed it. The old electronic chess system. I was in a thrift store recently, and they had this little thing that was kind of like one of those little vacuum robot things, but it was like for your desk, and it was from the early 80s. I had never seen it. I'd never seen one of those before. Anyway, I mean, it's tough to recommend this one. For half price, it was $7, which seems like a lot for a picture book, but there's a lot of fun retro kind of electronic stuff in there. Anyway, it was interesting to see that little desk robot kind of guy that would it's like the little robot, except for it's for your desk. I mean, I've got like 3 square inches of clean desk space. It feels like I can just clean that manually. All right. Yeah, Half Price Books. This is a good book. This makes me sad. It makes me happy. This is Bill Kunkel's book. Bill Kunkel was one of the original writers for Electronic Games magazine. He went by the Game Doctor, and so here's the Game Doctor, Bill Kunkel. This is kind of his memoir. He was an interesting dude. He was a loud dude, and I got to hear him talk at CGE in Las Vegas. Hello to the kids. So Bill Kunkel was like I mean, like one of the very first video game journalists. There's a story in here where Bill Kunkel, they're working on the magazine, and he says, I need a picture of a game screen to put with this review. Like, I need whatever. I need like a screenshot. And so Bill Kunkel is the person who invented the word screenshot. He invented it in conversation for electronic games. He coined the word screenshot. That's where it comes from, is from him. So he was just an interesting dude, and unfortunately had a heart attack and passed away. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like choked up, like it's not a personal friend of mine. I met him one time and emailed him a few times, but he was definitely the guy like that had that, actually you can see this picture, kind of the rock star attitude as far as video games and journalists, not the, he wasn't like the nerdy video game player, video game reviewer. He was like the loud party and rock star video game dude. So cool dude. This is fun book, fun read. If you want to read about the history of Electronic Games Magazine, if you're into that, or kind of the history of video game journalism, then that's a good read. All right, we're more than halfway through the stack of books. Again, this is our impromptu stream of going through computer-related books because the streaming computer was down. Now, this one is near and dear to my heart. This is called Retro Gaming Hacks, Tips and Tools for Playing the Classics. This is an O'Reilly book written by Chris Kohler. Now, Chris Kohler, I want to see if it's got his, I don't know if it's got his pedigree in here. But I believe he wrote for, I know he wrote for IGN. I believe he wrote for Wired. I'm not sure. He wrote for several very large websites and magazines. Okay. Oh, here we go. About the author. Let's see if I can get enough light to read this. Chris Kohler is an editor, writer, karaoke performance artist who lives in San Francisco, where all three of those things are a dime a dozen. So, like most of his friends, he has written articles about video games for Wired, Official PlayStation Magazine, OneUp.com, IGN, GameSpy, Nintendo Official Magazine, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and probably a few other publications. So anyway, he was really, this guy was kind of it. And so when he was putting this book together, he wanted, because this is Retro Gaming Hacks. It's basically, hacks, the word hacks is a little bit, it's like more about the old definition of like hacking hardware, like hacking something to make it work, not like, computer, like security hacking or anything like that. So, hold on here. I'm looking for something in the table of contents here, or in the index, I should say. So, anyway, when he was putting this book together, he said he wanted, he was looking for anybody that might want to write articles. And I said, sure, I'll write you an article. Let's see, MAME cabinets, 126. I used to have bookmarks in here. But I ended up writing multiple articles in here. And I'm trying to see, of course, now that I'm looking here, trying to see where it says my name all of a sudden. Yeah, like here's a whole thing about building MAME cabinets or whatever. So I wrote 3 articles for this book, and I don't remember. I did get paid. I think I got paid $100 an article or something like that. So out of the 101 articles in this book, I wrote 3 of them. And so whenever I was making my little resume or whatever, and I would say like, have you written for anything? I always put this on there, Retro Gaming Hacks, the O'Reilly book by Chris Kohler. So anyway, yeah, I think I did one about like MAME, like running MAME off of a boot CD or on Linux or something like that. And then one about MAME cabinets and one about something else. Yeah, this is dated because this was like, oh, how could you play an Atari game on your computer? Well, now you just double click and it plays. So, not as difficult as it was back when that book came out. Here's a book that I got from a library sale, and I bought it. I don't really have any. I love this book because it's so old and outdated. I'm going to see if I can find the print date on here. Let's see here. Here we go. To the memory of so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Pictures. Copyright 1965. This book is called The New World of Computers. And here it is. That's the new world of computers. There's a picture caption here. I won't be able to find it right now, but it talks about computers, and it said there's like a little caption, and it says like this says, "Only with computers could we have swift tabulation and election results." And then there's the election computer there. And anyway, there's somewhere in here there's one of those captions. It says, "Someday computers may be small enough to fit in your home." I always love that caption. Oh, this is one. "Some new computers are no bigger than a typewriter and a desk." There's the computer there. So anyway, yeah, this is copyright 1965. I really enjoy this book. I've looked through this book a few times. Here's ENIAC, so we all know that one. Anyway, there's a lot of good stuff in this one. Engineer selects the microfilmed reading he needs by pressing buttons. There you go. So anyway, this is a fun one, not one that necessarily you need to go track down. But and here's another one for L. Curtis Boyle. I got this this is another thrift store one that I got. I think I paid $1.25 for, and this is the Radio Shack TRS-80 graphics. So, if you have a TRS-80 and want to know how to program graphics for your TRS-80, this is the book for you. Let's see, the Bookback Air Depot. I can honestly say that I have, right now I may be spending more time with this book than I've ever spent before. If you're looking for a book that looks like that, then this is the book for you. I don't know, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So there's some examples of, if you type in all that stuff, you can get that right there. So I'm not sure this is the book for me, but although it does appear like if you type enough, you can get the Matrix. I believe that's what that is. So there you go. If you need to program the Matrix on your TRS-80, then there you go. That's happy. TRS-80 graphics. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 books left here. What do we got? This was an interesting book. How Nintendo zapped an American industry, captured your dollars, and enslaved your children. This is Game Over, which is not the same as the other Game Over book that I have. So this was basically an entire book. I don't remember if it was only Nintendo, to be honest with you. I haven't read this in a long time. I got this. We have a thing here called the Friends of the Library sale. Yeah, I mean, this looks mostly to be a Nintendo. And at the Friends of the Library sale, they sell old library books that are... there's a Matrix demo for the old TRS-80. I believe that. It was just a good story. And again, at the Friends of the Library sale, on the first day of the Friends of the Library sale, they have a thing where it's like $1 per book or something, and people go nuts. But then on the second day of so you can see it's an library book. On the second day of the sale, it's like all the books you could fit into a paper grocery sack for $1. And so I used to go and just grab things that look remotely interesting. And so I think this was one of those purchases. Go to the computer and video game section and and picked that up. What do we got here? Oh, what is this? This is classic 80s home video games identification and value. Now, there are a lot of these types of books that have been put out over the years, and this one is by Robert Wicker and Jason Broussard. Now, Jason Broussard, I believe, is the guy who owned Trading Games in St. Louis, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but he has gone to go work for the guys that are doing grading and evaluation down in Florida. I think that's where he has gone to, though. But anyway, this is featuring Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, ColecoVision, the Odyssey 2, Intellivision, and Vectrex. So this book feels very new, and I probably bought this just to put on a shelf, probably because Jason worked on it. So anyway, it looks like a lot of those the newer price guide style books are expensive because this whole thing is color and glossy paper. So this must have cost a fortune to print. You can, of course, these are all Atari games here in the front, but it's all color coded. Let me get something here in the back. Intellivision. So yeah, this was in fact, there's a cool picture on the back there. So these price guides are really kind of a date and time. I've got another price guide over here I'll be showing you in a second. But price guides, when I first got into retro collecting, and so this isn't... people say, well, when did you get into retro games? Well, I was always into retro games. I mean, I had an Atari brand new. I just never got rid of it, And so... So it's not like I never got into Atari. I never got out of Atari and back into it. But what I did get into was collecting retro stuff, which would have been around the time I joined Digital Press. So just after 2000, around that area. I'll just hit spacebar and that keyboard came alive. The main machine came alive, or the Mister came alive. Don't mistake. When you're talking about Mister, don't say main. So anyway, yeah, I think a lot of us were, Curtis. Like people go, when did you get a Commodore 64? I'm like, I got it in 1985. It's the same one that's sitting over there. So anyway, when you would, go out looking for Atari games, like you didn't know how much to pay. You didn't know how much games were worth. You didn't know how rare they were. And so that's why people bought things like these rarity guides. And so you would go through and you could identify games and it would tell you, how much they're worth. I mean, that's really what all this is. If you look through, like this has like Galaxian, it has every version of Galaxian, it has different prices, it has how rare they are. That's what these were. Now, I remember getting these, like people would take these lists and then make them into PDFs. And I remember the first time, a friend of mine came to visit to go shopping, and he had them all printed out like in a 3-ring binder. And then I got a PDF copy or something that I was able to put on my Palm Pilot. And so all of a sudden, you didn't have to take this book with you into a thrift store or a computer store or something. You could take your Palm Pilot, and go look up prices and rarity and things like that. So it became, and then of course on your phone, and now they have apps where you just scan a barcode and it'll tell you how much it's going for on Amazon. So we've come a long way, but this is the genesis of that was having paperback books. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left here. This is the Encyclopedia of Game Machines, Consoles, Handhelds, and Home Computers from 1972 to 2005. This is just like every one of those other books. I hate to say it that way. But this is another a picture style book. This says Commodore VC20. Not sure about the quality control in this one. Here we go. Now this is the one that I just got to see at Boat Fest in person for the first time ever. There's an Amstrad CPC 464. Yes, the old Volks modem. I had a Volks modem. Here we go. Here's one you guys probably know. The Amiga. So, it's not just computers. It's also consoles. It's also handhelds. There's the PlayStation. Here's the NEC PCFX. Here's the Bandai Atmark Pippin. So, common stuff, uncommon stuff, interesting stuff. Here's our buddy, the Apple II. This book feels like it's never been read. I'm sure I flipped through it one time, but I don't know that I've read it from beginning to end. But I might do that. I might put that in a separate pile over here. Might be some weekend reading. What was the Lumberjack game, by the way, going to emulate and play as I hit? I think it's just called Lumberjack. I think it's literally called Lumberjack, and it is, I see, Buck. I did not know that. I didn't know that. The Lumberjack game is literally, I think, just called Lumberjack, and I have it on the Commodore 64. It is on the Amiga. And I don't know what all it's been ported to, but it's been, what was the, was that on the, Coco? Curtis, do you remember which one, was running Lumberjack for the game tournament at Boat Fest? I don't remember which computer it was on, but, we'll find which one it was on. Now this is another one that is. I think it's a new game. I think it's completely new game. I don't think it's old. Yeah, was it Timmerman? Is that what it is? Okay. This is another book that is water damage from that same thing. I didn't want to replace it, but I didn't want to get rid of it. And this is Video Games in the Beginning. And this is Ralph Baer's book. So if you know the name Ralph Baer, and if you don't, then you don't know your video game history, sir. If you want to know about the old original Odyssey and the old, basically he is known as the grandfather of video games. So there is a lot of historic kind of documentation and stuff in here, but it's also got his whole story. And yeah, so if you want to hear the whole story of Odyssey and Ralph Baer's story, I mean, there's everything from, there's actual patents in here. There are, again, the whole story. I mean, it is an actual book as well. Here's the, that may look familiar, the old brown box. So if that brings you any nostalgia right there, then you'll probably enjoy this book. A lot of these books I got because they document a story. You know what I mean? Like just a whole era. Like if you want to know the story of Ralph Baer and the Odyssey, I mean, this is it. It's all right there in one book. If you want the TRS-80 story, it was all in that one book. The Commodore story is all in that one book. So. Okay, now. All right, all my Commodore people. Is yeah, it does. It absolutely does have that, Curtis. Is this the same Commodore on the Edge book as the other Commodore on the Edge? This is the Spectacular Rise and Fall of Commodore. Here's the quotes on the back. Jack wasn't listening very well. Engineer Chuck Peddle. That's funny. I'm not sure that he liked taking instructions very well. Leonard Trammell on Chuck Peddle. All right. So, we're going to auction this one off, and this is going to pay for the kids' college, hopefully. So we have this copy, and we have the other copy. I probably just got excited. I saw a Commodore book one time, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta get that other one," and then bought the same book twice. We're down to 3 books, and 2 of them are very similar. So the first one I'll show you is, I'm not saving the best for last. Actually, these are almost exactly sorted by size because they came off the shelf that way, although they were in 2 stacks. They have this thing every now and then at the fairgrounds called the, it's like the neighborhood-wide garage sale, and they have it at the fairgrounds, and everybody brings different stuff or whatever. And they had a group of kids who were raising money to go to a robotics competition. I was like, I gotta buy something. And they had a stack of books, and so I went and looking through the books, and this was one of the books that was right there. And this is this author is important here, Ken Schwitt, and this is the Book of Adventure Games. And so what this book is let me find here. So let me find an adventure game. that everybody knows. There's Otopos. Here's Alice in Wonderland, Pyramid of Doom. Here's Savage Island. Savage Island is one of the old Scott Adams original 12 adventures from Adventure International. You know what? Before I do that, yeah, Zork is in here. Let's just do Zork. Oh my gosh. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do Wizardry. So Wizardry, which is weird that it would be in here because Wizardry is not really a... I guess it's an adventure game. It's just not a text game. So anyway, there's a little thing in here, Wizardry, where it says, this is what Wizardry is. It talks about it. It's got a little picture of it. And you go, oh, that's cool. Then it's got all the maps of Wizardry. So every level of the dungeons, everything that you would need to play Wizardry is all in there. So here's the next entry, Zork 1. It's got a little thing that says this is what Zork 1 is. Make sure I'm holding this up right. And then you get your Zork map. Yes, not the same Scott Adams. Yeah, spoilers. This book is full of spoilers. This book is spoilers. That's what it is. Oh my gosh, what is this? This is Fantasyland. I'm just trying to find ones that people might know. Of course, Zork. Here's the original Pirate Adventure. Now, there's, I guess, an interesting thing about this book, and I'm trying to remember it so that I get it exactly right, but somewhere in here it says, see the sequel or something, and it's like Adventure Games Part 2 or something like that, right? But if you look it up, there is no Adventure Games Part 2. Like, that was never published. And more interesting is that I don't, and don't quote me because I mean this information could be a little bit old, but the author of this book's never been found. Like, people try to find who that was, and they were never able to track down who it was. So then when you get down here to the very back of the book, speaking of spoilers. Here to the back page. Time zone. There's Ultima 1. Zork 3, Zork 2, Zork 1. Complete walkthrough. So there you go. I wonder if it has Rogue. I don't know if it might. Wizard and the Princess, Voodoo Castle, Witness. Rogue doesn't seem like the type of game that would be in here, but let's take a look. Savage Island. The Quest. Well, let's see. That's Quest. Q. No, Sands of Egypt. No Rogue. No Roguelite. But anyway, so this was the first batch of, text adventures. Like, it even has like a general walkthrough for Ultima, like where to go, what order. Let's see. I'm just not reading them all, but just looking through the table of contents here. Adventure, Adventureland, Alibaba, just looking for ones I know. Castle of Darkness, The Count, The Coveted Mirror, Crystal Caverns, Dark Crystal. Oh, Dark Crystal. I got a feeling this may predate King's Quest. I don't think any of those type of games are on here. But all the old Scott Adams event. Wizard and the Princess, Wizardry, Zork 1, 2, 3, Ultima 1, 2, 3, So anyway, this is a super cool book. I think they had $1 on it. I gave them like $10. I was like, man, have a good time at your robotics convention. I'm going to have a good time reading through this. So, let me see if it's Quest by Aardvark. Sans. Nope, this is Quest. The Quest by Penguin Software. It says high-res adventure with color graphics. And yes, it does have both Colossal Cave and Adventure in there. So the last two books, the first one here, these are both from Digital Press. The first one, now Digital Press, I'm going to say it used to be a large, one of the two largest forums and websites where retro gamers collected. The other one was Atari Age. So those were the two where people hung out. And so this was the first of the two books that were released, and they would update these every now and then. But the first thing that's in here, this has collector's guides and rarity guides. So, let's see, this is non-US. Let me find. So, like, it has these collections of games like this, where it has little check boxes and you can check them off. It tells you what the games are, and so on and so forth. This is a thick book. This is a big, thick book. And so, I mean, it has complete collections. Atari, ColecoVision, Intellivision, Nintendo, NES. These are all, like, every NES game. And so that's what these were intended to be. TRS-80. Here's TRS-80 game releases, non-cartridge items. So you've got appliance and light controller, art gallery, Coco Max, high-res input module. So, I mean, everything that's related to these systems is in here. Here's the TRS-80 US game release. So that's what this book was a complete collector's guide at that time to retro gaming systems. Now, the other book, the companion book that went with it, is the this is the newer collector's guide. So this is advanced. This one has looking at the systems on the front: 32X, 3DO, CD32, CD, Dreamcast, Game Boy. So this is a 16-bit and up. So that's really the 8-bit collector's guide. Yeah, I'm sure you did. And so again, that's what this is. But the cool thing about this one was towards the end, they asked people if they wanted to contribute memories or stories in the appendix. And so, in fact, you would probably, if you've been around long enough, you would recognize some of the people that wrote the names of these stories. And I have 3 entries in here. The first one here is called Nintendo 64. If you can see that, by me. And more importantly, the Curse of the Green Number 3. So, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to tell you the story of the Curse of the Green Number 3. I had, when I was a kid, I had a little black and white television, and then, so like I said, that was, the last time I looked was like maybe 10 years ago for that adventure book. So maybe that copies have shown up since then. You have to tell me how much it's selling for. So, boy, you tell it's getting dark outside because now I look like the blueberry girl from from Willy Wonka. Anyway, so I had this TV. I ended up getting a small. I think it was a 13-inch colored television. It was the TV that I had a black and white TV, and then I had a computer monitor, and then I got this TV when I was like 12, and it's the TV I had until I moved in with my wife. So I had this TV for a long time. Anyway, when you would turn the TV on, it would always like when it lost power, it would reset. And you had to go set every channel. You could either set them manually with the remote, or you could do an auto thing, and it would go through and find every antenna channel or cable channel, and it would program them in based on, if it found a signal. And so, but you had to do that with the remote, right? So anyway, when I moved out and I got my first apartment, this was the only TV I had, and so I had it set up on a little small entertainment center, and it was a one-bedroom apartment. And then my buddy Andy, who, if you listen to You Don't Know Flack 200, I interviewed Andy on the show. Andy ended up moving into the living room, and we had it's a whole different story, but we ended up with a stolen couch that folded out into a bed. And one day when the couch got opened, it had the bar that came down to the ground, and somehow the remote got underneath that, and it broke the remote. It broke the remote in half like this. And so now there's no remote for the television. And so the first time that we lost power and turned the TV back on, there was a giant number 3 for channel 3. And so now Steel Rat made an attempt of fixing the remote, and he was able to solder a few of the connections together. But we only got a few things. Like, I think volume worked, and maybe the power button, and like the number 7. But that was it. So none of the other buttons worked, including the auto set button, which you needed to get rid of the 3. And so the whole time I lived in that apartment, that was it. There was no way to get rid of that giant 3. And so I got an NES that I put in the living room of my apartment, and we live right next to this place called Kaleidoscope Video. So we would walk over. So Jeff would come over, and Andy was living there, and we all worked at pizza restaurants. And so after work, we would go to this place, Kaleidoscope Video, and we would rent bad ninja movies and bad horror movies and Nintendo games, and that's what we would do in the apartment. So we would always get like Mario Brothers is the one I remember, or Super Mario Brothers 3 was a big one, but we would always rent Mario Brothers because you could play against each other, right? Like you're playing Mario Brothers, but you could also try to attack each other. But the thing was, if the other person wasn't paying attention, you could hide behind the giant 3 because you couldn't see, because the 3's blocking a big part of the screen. So you could just move somewhere and hide there, and you couldn't see where the other person was. And so learning how to play the games like Joust or whatever, but also having to work around this giant 3 that was always in the middle of the screen became kind of an added difficulty setting that we had to adapt to. Now, what's funny about that is that years later, one year for Christmas, my wife bought me a remote for that television. I had bought some of those universal remotes, and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work on that TV. And so she bought me a remote, and the remote was like $65. And the thing was, the TV was worth like $40. So I would never buy a remote, but but she ended up buying the remote, so I had it for a long time, and I got rid of it like a couple of houses ago. Like I had it forever. I had that TV forever, and I always liked the remote, and I always loved that story and loved the 3. So anyway, that is one shelf of my many bookshelves that are in here, but that is one shelf, and that is most of my computer and video game and hacking books. So sorry that we did not get to stream games tonight. For those of you that are on my Patreon, know that I do a weekly video called Rando Rob, where I grab one thing from my collection, I tell stories about it or whatever. So this is kind of like an extended Rando Rob for everybody. So yeah, on Rando Rob, I think I'm on like week 70 or something now, and each Rando, I do a Rando Rob once a week, and they're always just some random item that's pulled off a shelf, that shelf, this shelf, this shelf, the bookshelf. You never know what it's going to be. So thanks everybody for jumping on, for hanging out. I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time in my computer. You can barely see it because it's behind a giant stack of books. But the computer has upgraded and is all done. So now I'm going to go log into my computer. I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. If you are on, check podcast.robohara.com. I'm going to have episodes of Lycodos and Cactus Flax out before the end of the weekend. I've got both of those cooking. So, Curtis, if you were closer, I would loan you any of these books. But I need to get RFID tags in them so that I don't lose books. I actually do on the back of my, not over there, but over there, I have a whiteboard on the back of that door. And one of the lists on the whiteboard is when people borrow things, I put it on the whiteboard because I'm always paranoid I'm not going to get them back. So I'm trying to see what's up there. I've got a mirror right here that I bought off of Amazon that is reflecting the main computer. But what it's really for is it points out the window so I can see when Amazon packages are arriving. I can see the guy walking up the mail or up the sidewalk. So anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out, and I will be back here next week. See you guys.